I'm not sure how I feel about this book. Was it interesting? Yes. Did it keep my attention? Also, yes. Did I like it? I don't really know. The story revolves around Natalie Heller. She and her sister are brought up in a performative religious Christian community by their single mother. Her greatest desire in life is to be a wife and a mother who is led by a husband. And she thinks she's hit the jackpot when she meets Caleb Mills at college. He's from a wealthy, prominent family, and he looks like prime, respectable religious husband material. It's especially important to Natalie because her sister already got married at 18 and is already having children. She feels like she's getting behind, and Natalie has already thinks that she's better than her sister. That's kind of a hint of the Natalie that's under the surface that you meet throughout this book. Natalie and Caleb get married in a fairy tale wedding, but the wedding night and the marriage are not so fairy tale. Caleb just isn't good enough, in Natalie's opinion. He doesn't do enough. He doesn't lead enough. He doesn't seem to have much in the way of ambition. He is not driven at all. He is just not man enough for her. Whenever he comes home after the birth of their children and he says that he's found a dream career that will give him a future and something he can latch onto, she's excited until she hears that his choice of career is kindergarten teacher. In Natalie's point of view, that is just not something a real man would do. And she decides that if that is the way Caleb is leaning, she's going to have to take matters into her own hands and solve this problem. She calls up Caleb's dad, who is a politician getting ready to make a presidential run. He is religiously conservative, and he presents, she presents him with this opportunity to get rid of the embarrassment that Caleb is as this non-motivated, completely not picture perfect son, and also to give him a way to look good in the future. And for her, it gives him a direction so that he no longer feels like a failure as a husband. It's going to legitimize Caleb, who has basically been a disappointment to his parents thus far. She decides, or she tells Doug, that they need to be homesteaders on a ranch, but she'll need Doug to buy that ranch and to bankroll it for the first several years until it can turn a profit. Doug does, and Caleb buys into the idea. He starts going to chat rooms to learn how to be a farmer and a rancher. And within those chat rooms, he ends up getting attached with some people who are very conservative in a not so great way. That starts to impact the way that Caleb looks in the world. And the other thing is it really kind of matches the way that Natalie has looked at the world for the most part. The irony is that Natalie doesn't really like anything about her life. She doesn't like the farm. She doesn't connect with farm work. She doesn't like farm tours unless they're on camera. She doesn't particularly love being domestic, and she doesn't even really like her husband or her kids at all. When a chance mention on a podcast causes an overnight flood of followers to her Instagram account, that financial bump means that she can hire out all of these unpleasant parts of her life, including multiple nannies and household managers. All of that is great as long as she can keep it off camera. The other thing is, all of this is happening in two distinct timelines for you, the reader. You are living with Natalie in her beautiful Yesteryear ranch. You're also living in a past version of Yesteryear that is old because it's 1855, and Natalie is living the real life of a homesteader. At some point in the story, she has this crisis, and when she wakes up, it is 1855. She's still on Yesteryear. It's recognizable as her ranch. Her husband, Caleb, is still Caleb, but he's not her Caleb. He's old Caleb, she calls him. And she has all these children, but they're not her children. They're these other children, and she's really confused. Not only that, but she likes old-time homesteading even less than she liked modern homesteading, and she's desperate to get back. That leads to several different accidents and a whole lot of trauma for Natalie. And you, the reader, you were still going backward and forward in time. You were alternating between the two. This alternating timeline actually works better, all things considered, than you would think. It's definitely interesting, and it makes the book very thought-provoking, especially when you figure out what is really going on there with the big twist, which I'm not going to talk about. There is one glaring problem with the book, though, and I am quite sure it's intentional. Natalie Heller Mills is probably one of the least likable characters I have ever encountered in fiction. I probably have more empathy for a serial killer victim in an Alex Cross book than I have for Natalie. I just don't like her. There were places that I got so tired of living in Natalie's head that I just wanted to stop the whole book. She's a reprehensible human being. And she's written that way on purpose. The author is definitely doing what she sets out to do with this. This is really a book that is making a point, and it's making a point about performative religious or non-religious even tradwives who are selling something that is just totally not real. It's not real at all. Anytime a book is written to make a point versus to tell a story, it loses something in the story end. We never quite get comfortable in the flow of the story because it isn't really a story. This is more of a story adjacent, very long essay on the evils of this sort of subculture. To be clear, I rather agree with the sentiments that the book is promoting. I think that Natalie's way of thinking is super damaging, and it makes the point well, but it doesn't necessarily tell the story as well as I would have liked. I never did get to immerse in it because I was constantly aware of the point that was trying to be made in the background. Well, I have one final point too, and that has to do with the repurposing of religion and scripture in this book. Natalie would absolutely say that she's a Christian. She's not. She would probably say that she's a patriot, but she isn't one of those either. Natalie's a tribalist, and that's a dangerous way to live life. Real, actual Christianity doesn't look like this because it is not self-promoting, it's not self-righteous, and it's not self-focused. It doesn't condemn everybody else while finding an excuse for every single mistake that you as the individual make. It's actually about turning inward and studying oneself and trying to grow. None of that is present in Natalie at all. The God that Natalie is worshiping in this book is the God of Natalie. She's worshiping herself, her dreams, her ideas of what life should look like. And she is quite worshipful of the Natalie God that she has created. She only finds pleasure when she is front and center on stage, when she's living that very performative life. And that really doesn't have anything to do with faith. It has to do with being filled with her own glory and her own very, very twisted sense of what makes a good life. So for me overall, this would be a 3.5 that I rounded down to 3 out of 5 on Goodreads because it was a great story. It was a great premise. I was interested the whole way through, but after all this time with Natalie, I really feel like I need a shower, a session with a therapist, and possibly a prayer meeting because I need to get her out of my mind. Mainly because I know way too many people who actually think like this. Just not a good look. Thanks.